Let's take you now to Tarkwa Nsiayim, where similar protests occurred because of roads.
The Wasafiase Traditional Council and residents of Tarkwa in the Tarkwa Nsiayim municipality embarked on the massive demonstration to register their displeasure over the delay in completing works for the asphalting of the Tarkwa-Wasa Aguna road on the Takoradi-Tarkwa highway. The demonstration began early Wednesday morning with traditional authorities clad in red and black. The youth were not left out as they chanted war songs in solidarity with their leadership. The construction of the road began in 2013 by Asabia Engineering Works Limited. 5 years down the lane, storm drains and mini drains along the road have been constructed and the base reinforced with rocks and clay to avert the perennial floods that occur mostly along the Anglo-Gold Gulf pitch. But the work is far from complete. Several road accidents have occurred on the stretch, with the latest being last week, claiming the lives of 8 people, 6 pupils and 2 teachers of the Lawlessness Bridge Academy at Dumping. The recent accident, according to traditional leaders, triggered this protest.
I think this thing has been long overdue because we have been suffering. One, if you go to any hospital in Tarkwa, we have liver problem, kidney problem, and because of the dust, it's all the mines is working with chemicals, and this is what we are suffering from. We are not saying that the mines shouldn't work, but at least we have to benefit. The mines are not helping our people, especially at Champion Charlie Crew. When we are driving from here to Tamsu, we spend 2 hours sometime in traffic. So please, we are pleading to the government to come and help Tarkwa as general.
According to some residents, the road is almost unmotorable during the Hamilton, as well as usual heavy vehicular traffic on the road.
The reason, the problem we are having is that when it doesn't rain, there's a lot of dust particles. So we are playing with the government to come and fix the problem for us. We all came to support because we believe that it is through this demonstration that the government can listen to us.
We actually support the demonstration. We are actually much concerned about the road. Just if the cameraman can see, there's much trucks on this road, more than 100 trucks a day, in and out, and the dust, our children going to school in and out. We are pleading the government should come to our aid. Even if the road have not started, they should be watering the road for us at least so that we get the road going.
Municipal Chief Executive Gilbert K. Asma says the demonstration is premature as Assembly, in consultation with representatives of the Traditional Council, had drafted a proposal to Minerals Commission in request of funding support for the road infrastructure.
It's too early for such a demonstration. I believe you've been here on several occasions and you've seen the effort we've put in making this road motorable. So I think it's too early because even last Friday we met and there is a new proposal apart from the one we sent that the mining companies should come together where we serve certain ministries, finance, roads and highways, lands and natural resources, and then Ghana Highway Authority.
The chiefs have meanwhile issued a 2-week ultimatum to get the project completed or face their wrath. The traditional leaders also visited the Lawlessness Bridge Academy to speak to leadership of the school, who say the 8 who died will be giving a mass burial on Friday.
So there you go, a tale of 2 different communities, one of them with a governing party member of parliament and the other with an opposition member of parliament. So clearly politics is not the reason. In fact, just to clarify that, head of political desk here at JoyNews, Evans Mensah, explains.
Details about why people pour into the streets in protest. Is it that they are just tired of the situation, especially the status of their roads, or it's politically motivated? Why do you think people are doing that these days? We've had about 4 cases in recent past.
I think people are just frustrated with the system. So a lot of the cases we've seen, spontaneous rioting, has to do with basic necessities of life. So good roads, lack of water. Maybe a community has a factory that is been disturbing people in terms of health implications, etc. So we've seen in Sakina where the spontaneous rioting was about poor nature of the roads, and from what we heard there, the community residents have been complaining about this for a while. So all you need in these circumstances is a trigger. So once there's a trigger, so it's been raining recently, so obviously the already bad road has become even worse. So that can be a trigger. And we've seen areas also where, for example, we had reports in other places where the district chief executive, the members of parliament were prevented from entering the town. The town folks decided to block the road and vowed not to allow any political leader to enter the town, also because they believe the political leaders have failed them. They come there every 4 years to come and make promises of fixing the roads, but then once they win power, they tend to forget about them. So all this then builds up to a perfect mix, a recipe for chaos once the spark is provided. That is why we are seeing this. You know, when you suppress people for so long, when people feel oppressed for so long, when people feel you have neglected them for so long, and all avenues to dialogue has been exhausted, and they feel helpless and hopeless, the only reasonable means of action they find is revolt, which is what has happened in many cases that we've seen.
But today they are pouring onto the streets, they are burning tires. What do you foresee will happen in the near future?
Well, in the near future, we've seen what happens elsewhere in the world. They only will not burn tires and block roads. They sort of turn their anger onto the political leaders, the duty bearers, so to speak. We've seen. I think I saw it in somewhere in Europe, where a member of parliament or an appointee of state. There was a protest, and they held him and dumped him in a refuse bin, something to that effect. That is what will happen eventually. They blocked the roads and said the MP, the chief executive, cannot enter the town. The next time they were allowed to enter the town, and they probably will vandalize your vehicle, which is what we've seen in KNUST. So it's gotten to the point, because it's been building up. They protested. Some of their members were assaulted. They feel the university authorities are blocking dialogue. Dialogue has been exhausted. Their grievance has not been resolved. They hit the streets on Friday. Some of their members are assaulted. The next thing they do, and that comes your question, is now let's take it on to the authorities who they blame for oppressing them. And so what they do, they burn their vehicles. They torch some of them, destroy property. I'm pretty sure if the Vice Chancellor happened to be around yesterday and they had seen him, there would have been physically bodily harm inflicted on him. That is where you get to when people feel oppressed. And I'm sure everybody will hope you don't get there. So authorities simply need to know that the signs aren't good. This is not rocket science. Everywhere in the world, when you oppress people for so long, at one point they would have to revolt. And if they don't destroy public property, sometimes they might injure people. Even in worst case scenario, people die.